Good morning, all. Well, I come to you from a wonderful little place called Turbely, um, and more specifically, Le Bardiniere, which is owned by a friend of Dawn. So, shout out to Dawn for putting me in touch with Pam. And it's been a wonderful night here. It's if you're following my progress, you'll see that I've jumped a few little kilometers. um, that's been for a couple of reasons. So lots sort of happened since I last checked in with you. And last time I checked in with you, I was staying in Argenton with the nuns. And so the nuns had put me up. And since then, I walked, it was about 19 miles to Alençon. Now, Alençon was an interesting day. It was a wonderful walk in the morning. I had some Michel. He invited me in for coffee and croissants, which was absolutely lovely. And that first half of that day, walking through the national forest, was absolutely delightful. But as they say, it's a game of two halves, and the second half was actually quite stressful and well, walking was quite dangerous because the roads are not meant for walkers. They are meant for cars going at very high speeds. So I spent quite a lot of time in the afternoon trying to work out ways of getting to Alençon without dying on the road. And you'd be pleased to know I succeeded, not without aggravating my leg a little bit more at times. So it was very slow going. But once I got to Alençon, a lovely little town, which I will, and then I made my way through to the Basilica, which is my sort of custom, to go to somewhere to pray and to ask for someone to come forward to assist me that evening. Now, when I was in Alençon, I had a great deal of generosity, but I had a couple who were over from Oxfordshire, although he was originally from there. They gave me €10 to get something to eat, and then a lovely couple, Marie-Françoise, and her husband Jacques took me out to dinner, which was absolutely lovely. But neither of those two people were able to offer me anywhere to stay that evening. So it was quite late before someone was willing to come forward. Jean came forward, and he was visiting, so he wasn't able to actually put me up, but he offered and gave me €50 to go to a hotel, one of those cheaper motel places, and that would have been fine if there was room at the inn. So in Alençon, it was the first night I actually ended up sort of, well, I suppose technically sleeping rough. You know, foxes have holes, birds have nests, but you know, sometimes those who follow the Son of Man don't have a place to lay their head. So I spent the evening in two ways. One, there was at the motel I was hoping to get into. Outside there were a couple of deck chairs, and it was a fairly safe area. So I spent the majority of the night sleeping on the deck chair outside of the hotel. But I also did a bit of walking around as well to see, to warm up, and two to just get up, and it's not easy to sleep. I understand. Well, I don't really understand how hard it must be for those for whom this is their nightly thing. I was relatively safe. I was aware that I would only be there for one night, and I wasn't likely to be moved on by anyone. So however, it's not the most pleasant of experiences. Hence, I didn't sleep very well at all that night. So I started my walk towards Le Mans, even though Le Mans wouldn't have been my final destination that night, early in the morning. And then I got about sort of 10 miles towards where I was intending to go, or 15 kilometers more likely. Yeah, similar sort of thing. And some wonderful old man who our communication was such that I didn't quite catch his name, insisted that he give me a lift because he saw me limping along the road at a very slow pace. And he insisted to take me all the way to Le Mans. So I had to swallow my pride at that point, because I think after a night sleeping rough and my leg still sort of throbbing, I thought, well, you gotta take the gifts that God gives you, I think. And I think one of the key aspects, apart from the walking, is the trusting in the kindness of others and building those relationships. So I've developed the philosophy of always saying yes first. If anyone offers me any form of act of kindness, my first response is yes. And I think that is, we live in a very cynical and skeptical age, and sometimes we sometimes also look for the better deal. But I think actually accepting those kindnesses and saying yes to what comes along first and foremost is a wonderful gift, both to yourself and to the person offering that gift. So that's what I did. So I ended up in Le Mans, and I used the 50 euro from the night before that I wasn't able to spend from Jean, and got myself a little ibis budget, which only came to 40 euros. So I had a little bit of money to also buy myself some supper, but I effectively slept all afternoon and evening there because I was completely exhausted. And then as I had already arranged to stay where I was staying tonight in Turboli, and again I graciously accepted. I did I walked to meet my current hosts to about probably just under 10 mile and then they picked me up from where I was and brought me to this wonderful place. And I'm going to stay here for an extra night to try and rest up the leg, which is still sore, but isn't as sore as it was. And we shall see. And then I'm going to be making my way down towards Poitiers, and just beyond, where I'll be staying with Chris for hopefully at least 4 days. And that will give my leg even more rest. So thank you, Chris, for offering to do that. And again, I'm going to have to be realistic and mindful that my leg is probably a bit of a stress fracture, which means that the only real solution to it is rest and rehabilitation. But I'm also mindful I'm on a time scale, so I will try and keep myself safe and as well as possible. And we'll see where we go, and I will certainly be checking in with you in the next couple of days. I know this is a longer video. It was only meant to be a short video. I am going to do a couple whilst I'm here with Pam and her husband. I'm going to do a couple of longer form videos specifically on three aspects of the Franciscan charism that I've experienced whilst being out here on the road, and they are humility, joy, and love. So I will do a video on each of those, which whilst I'm here for the next day, and then over the next week or so, when Greg gets a chance to edit, they'll come out when they come out. So stay tuned. Thank you for all your prayers and support. Hopefully I won't have too many more nights like I did at Alençon, having to sleep a little bit rough without a technical roof over my head. But God was good. You know, the people of Alençon were generous and open-hearted, as I found anywhere else. But things conspired against having a place to stay that evening. That's all. And I'm sure it won't be the last time along the road where I might have to find myself sleeping a bit rough. Well, thank you again, and I'll keep you updated. Hopefully my leg over this next day can rest and improve before I set on the road again. Thank you very much. Bye.